All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week on What's Next. We have a really great week planned for shows this week of What's Next. It's all about distribution. So all these artists are out there making a bunch of videos, trying to get them out there, trying to get them seen. And there's been a few companies that have been created to distribute these shows all across the internet, all across the world. And it's been really interesting following some of these companies as they're adjusting and helping artists to get their art out there. And a lot of them have centered very much on fringe shows. For those of you who don't know, fringe festivals are all over the world, and artists perform usually around hour shows to various types of audiences, various types of shows. And so these fringe distributors are now putting a lot of these shows out there. And we've got one today that we're really looking forward to talking about. And we have Mr. Jon Paterson with FringeLive Stream. Welcome, Jon.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you've been working in the industry about 30 years. It says here you are currently up in Toronto, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the U.S. studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Been working with a company called RibbitRePublic that has been touring for about 20 years all over North America. And I find it really interesting, speaking about Fringe, you've actually co-managed 3 venues at the Edmonton Fringe Festival up in Canada. That's tremendous. Over 15 different performing acts. And as a technician, you've also been technical director at the Astor Theatre in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, and Monster Theatre in Vancouver, BC. So, and probably the most important thing to the project at hand, you are a stilt walker. So yes. All of these skills being very, very important in terms of distributing fringe shows. We're also joined by legendary fringe actor Kurkendaal-Barrett, who has extensively toured around North America, and it's coming on as a performer and one of the first performers have gone through the site. So we're gonna have a little talk about what FringeLive Stream does, how it kind of came about, and then from an actor's point of view, what it was like to actually go through this. So, Jonathon, it's March. You're doing your thing.
I'm doing my thing.
You go to lock in, and what happens? How do you get from pre-COVID to live streaming shows?
I mean, a year ago, I had no idea what streaming, OBS, or any of this all these terms that I know now. I have had bit rate and all that stuff. I had no idea what that was a year ago. Last March, I was in Liverpool, Nova Scotia, a small town on the coast of Canada. And I was a technical director of a theater. I was living in the theater, in the back of the theater, and I was planning another fringe summer. Orlando. We're gonna start the fringe in Orlando and then do the circuit across like I've done every year, and looking forward to it. And then the friggin' pandemic hit. I'm not alone. It blindsided me. It blindsided everybody. And as a direct result, I was laid off from my job. The theater shut down. It's such a small theater in a small town. It's a big theater in a small town. And that shut down. And suddenly I had no work. All the fringes were done. And my family took me in. And I said, what the hell am I going to do now? So up in Canada, they have National Arts Centre did this virtual show called Canada Performs. And they basically just gave, the government gave them money to just put a call out to artists, music artists, dance, spoken word, storytelling. And I applied with a play, Daniel McIver play. And the grant was $1,000, and which we all needed at the time because we were all suddenly unemployed. And they picked the show, and so I said, okay, well, frig, I got to learn how to do this. So I went on YouTube and I just researched OBS streaming. So actually, the first thing I researched was how to make words appear on your screen, or like it was the most dumbest, like I'm not kidding, I was Luddite, like I just how to do that, and then through there I just followed the YouTube tutorials down, and after the live stream went so well, I said I want to do this, but I want to do it as a Fringe, because at this point nobody except for Orlando, nobody was going, okay, we're going to go digital, because it was still, so I kind of used Orlando as like a source of inspiration, and decided to hold a draw, like just friggin' like an idiot. It's like, okay, let's do it. And we kind of rushed it, really. We really kind of rushed it. And Les was our second show.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and there was, I mean, it's now I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. We have a pre-show, and there's people who've really, really taken this, like Keith Brown and Carlin Ramey and Josh Langdo are sort of the three, like we're like the cogs, and we really have our own sort of roles, and we have an artist and underrepresented community series, and it's just, it's going really well. But oh my God, the first few shows, I mean, maybe Les is notwithstanding, but some of the shows were just such a tech nightmare. Like shit going, sorry, but stuff going wrong. Okay, stuff going wrong all the time, whether it's stopping the stream or bitrate problems or sound problems. Or there was one point when my messenger would be mixed in with the stream, and whenever someone messaged me, it'd be like ding ding, and then everyone would hear it, and everyone would like, what's that? What the heck's that? Like, it was one time when my OBS software said the show's over, and I was like, okay, great, show's over, stop stream. But of course on the Facebook it was a minute behind, and all of a sudden stream stops. Like, just you name it, we did it. Wrong.
But that's amazing. I mean, what I'm sensing from all the artists I talk to, that's what's been kind of the fun. We're all kind of experimenting with this.
Yeah.
And we're all playing it, and we're learning. And it sounds like you had actually a team. You mentioned some other people. So you kind of went to them and said, hey, let's do this. And you guys just started to create Fringe live stream.
Yeah, it kind of came together that way. I put a call out to what I wanted to do was the RibbitRePublic that you mentioned, our independent theater company. I just wanted to do all my shows. and Carlin says, John, that's like Fringe so white. And she said, you have to have an artist from underrepresented communities sub-series a part of it. Otherwise, there's no point. And this is before George Floyd. This is a month before that, and Les was actually just drawn in the draw, right? You weren't actually part of the sub-series, and so I said, okay, well, I can't do RibbitRePublic shows. I can't make it about me. I can't. So I'm not trying to be some martyr or anything. Seriously, whatever. But like, I went onto the Fringe, Beyond the Fringe site, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And people sort of came to me, and Carlin, and then Keith and I are just good buds. And so he jumped aboard, and yeah, so, and you guys are welcome to jump aboard too.
Yeah, so I love that element of it. And I do see a lot of people are kind of using Facebook or whatever social media platform to kind of reach out and find like-minded people and all this who wants to team up. So now we've got someone like Les or any other performer out there. Les, how did you hear about this? What kind of got you into it?
Well, actually, this was all kind of a fluke, pretty much for me. I saw the thing that they put on the Beyond the Fringe Facebook page, and I looked at who was involved, and I was pretty much friends. One of the things about being a touring artist is we either know each other or we're like 1 degree of separation from each other. Right. So I looked at the list of people involved, and I was friendly and knew everybody on the list. So I was kind of like, why not, And so I entered, and I actually entered and forgot that I entered into it. until I get a message from a mutual friend of Jonathon and mine, my friend Kurt, and he's like, you got in. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I then remembered, oh, that's right, I entered this lottery. And so that's how I got into it.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so it is, and you mentioned this earlier, a lot of fringe festivals do have a lottery system. And so to keep it in kind of the fringe, like a fringe festival, and sort of to cut back, you consider this a fringe festival? Like, are you?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. One of the first things I did was I wrote to CAF, which is the Canadian Association of Fringe Festivals, which has American fringes in it. We had this conversation earlier. It really should be the North American Association of Fringe Festivals, but it isn't. So I emailed them, and I CC'd every fringe that I've ever been a part of, and I said, this is what I want to do. I want your blessings. It's called Fringe Live Stream. We have a copyright up in Canada, so I didn't want to step on any toes. I wanted your blessing. They emailed back, as well as Carlin saying about the artists from underrepresented communities. The Fringe emailed saying, as long as you're going by our principles, which is, a lottery, uncensored, unjuried, 100% of the proceeds go back to the artists, and you have an element for artists of underrepresented communities, then we give you your blessing. But you can't call it a fringe. So I had to sort of work out a couple of things, because there is no beer tent. There is no, you know what I mean? It's not a fringe festival, right? So, but what I wanted to capture was live performance, as opposed to, because a lot of people do the pre-recorded, which is great. And it's funny about Les's performance, if you ever see it somewhere else, it was recorded live. You know that it was live, right? As opposed to just doing a recording, right? Like, you can tell by watching Les's performance that people were watching, and it was happening right then and there. And that's what I wanted to capture, as opposed to just people sending in, pre-recorded sort of videos. Or, I mean, I like that too. That's good for a pre-show. But as far as the actual main focus of it was live performance, for sure.
Right. Yeah, and that's been a big topic among people doing this. That difference between an archive video, like showing Les from another one of his fringes, versus here and now. Even though there may not be laughter, there may not be clapping, the show's happening, tech issues can happen, all of that. Mm-hmm. So Les, and I didn't even mention this, I was going on about your fringe work. I mean, you're a long-running Story Salon member, and you've also been a feature performer over at the Moth. And I know you forgot you put yourself in the lottery, but what was your take on having done so many live fringes that you're suddenly going to do online? Have you ever done online?
Well, no. And I was actually reluctant to do it. And when this all first went down and people were talking about doing it online, I was like, hell no, I'm not doing it online. And I was totally anti doing it live stream, totally. And so once I remembered I entered this lottery, I was like, well, I might as well do it. So because I was entered into it, and it turned out to be the best. It turned out to be the best thing that I could have ever done. Seriously.
We're glad you did it, Les. We're glad you did it.
Because a lot of people were really hesitant about this. I'm very happy that you did do the show and that you had a positive experience. Can you share some of, again, what made it positive? What was similar to your live show? What was better?
Well,
the differences.
So the differences, the main difference was basically it was me sitting at my dining room table, and because of the way it is, you can't move. So I literally just had to sit at my table. I could not move. I could not walk around. I couldn't even move within the shot. So I literally had to stay frozen and just do my show, that was definitely an adjustment. But the main thing is that one night that I did the show for Fringe live stream, more people saw my show that night than probably would have in a summer of touring.
Wow.
So I basically got 4 festivals worth of views in one sitting without having to leave my house.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing, and that's what I'm getting from hearing it from people. Plus, you did it live, but you keep it up there, Jonathon, don't you? You keep the feed up for a while. So I bet there's been, beyond that first night, even more people see.
Well, for Les's show, we're at 2.9 thousand views. Is it?
That's amazing. And like you said, and I know you do a lot of festivals, and those houses tend to be like 30 to 50 seats.
50, yeah.
50-ish.
50-ish.
So that, 2,900 is a lot of those from the safety of your home.
No, it's great. It's great. We've, Les is, full disclosure, is our heaviest hitter, if you will, our most successful one. And we've had other shows that have done, over 1,000, and but again, it's like a Fringe, right? So you have shows that do well, you have shows that don't do well. It sort of depends on how much they push online, and we do our standard, social media posts and media releases and all that stuff. But we've noticed that people who do sort of advertise themselves, much like Les did, much like Polyester did, seem to get sort of more, seem to do better.
Which makes sense. And but then again, such big numbers. I mean, even if a show isn't doing as well and it's getting 1,000, that could be more than they would have gotten in their traditional theater run.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, views are. I mean, you get the views don't necessarily reflect the box office return. When I did the show House, it was about 2.5 thousand views, and I was shocked. Oh my God, 2.5, which is great. It is great, especially if you want to sell an ad. But it's like internet views. It's just sort of different. You know what I mean? I have a different perspective. Whereas I'd love to see 2,500 people packed in a theater to see a show that I love it.
Let me ask about that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the numbers, but kind of jumping around. There are the various platforms people are using, and some are using specifically Zoom to get that audience feel that you can actually see it. Do you guys use a particular platform?
Yeah, we use Zoom. At first, in the early days, we had a 2-tier system where it was anyone can go into Facebook and watch it on Facebook. But people can also buy a ticket on Eventbrite for Zoom access. And this was, again, the early days when I didn't really know what I was doing. So we sort of moved away from Zoom and only had Zoom as the actual performance, so that we can communicate with them backstage, and especially if there's a lot of people in the show, like gallery view, then it's easier for us to handle all that. But so Zoom is our main communique as far as working with the actors, that we go through OBS software. And go on to Facebook. Now, having said all that, we're actually, now that we're comfortable in what we're doing, and I'm an old timer, and Keith Brown's still a young guy, so he's still doing the Google searches 24 hours a day and going, what about this? Look, this, he spent a day working on a swipe, like a phone swipe. It's amazing, really. So anyways, we're now going to incorporate Zoom again, go back to Perhaps not a Zoom, like we still sell Eventbrite tickets, and we highly encourage, we just go buy a ticket. We almost shame people to buy a ticket, even though you can watch it for free on Facebook, because not everyone has money. That's the other side of it, right? But we're going to incorporate Zoom for after the show talks, and Q&As and Hangouts, because one thing we've been hearing is that after the show, it can get pretty lonely. You just finished doing a live stream, you want to go to the beer tent, instead you go to bed. So.
Yeah, what do you say about that, Les?
I agree 100%, because for me, half of the fun of doing the show, half of the fun of going to festivals is being with my friends. And it's kind of funny because it's like, it's basically a group of friends who I see once a year during the summer.
I know.
And so it's like, you do the show and then you go and you hang out with your buddies, and it's like, and you catch up on what's been going on the past year, and it's just that camaraderie's gone, and so after I did it, I totally felt lonely because I couldn't go and hang out with anybody,
No.
And so I totally miss it.
There's so much we miss about the just Fringe touring, that streaming. It in a lot of ways it's exciting, and it's a whole new kind of bubble off to the side, but it's still missing a whole, like, going to different cities. I wouldn't have gone to Fresno, California, or Minneapolis if it wasn't for Fringe, or even Scranton. Like, friggin' Scranton's got a Fringe, so. There's a lot of things we definitely miss, and Les, you were supposed to be in Canada this time.
I was supposed to be gone for like 4 months straight, so I was supposed to be in Canada right now. It's
oh no, listen, I want to turn away from, I know this is not, it's sad times. And at the same time, there are some elements of this that I think are really exciting. So, you're not going to be in Canada, but now your show, I mean, what kind of audiences from where are you seeing? I mean,
okay, so this is what ended up happening. So on that Fringe live stream show that I did, after I finished, I started getting messages from different Fringe directors at different Fringes who are like, hey, we just happened to catch your show at Fringe live stream. Do you have it? Did you record it? Do you have a recording of it that we could show at our festival? So what ended up happening is Jonathon, because I didn't think to record it, but Jonathon had actually recorded it, and that was part of doing the live stream, is you actually got a recording of your show. So I had the recording. It was a good recording. So literally, when a Fringe director would hit me up, I would just send them the recording of it. So right now, as of now, my show has been at like 5 festivals.
Wow. Amazing.
And I haven't performed it. I haven't performed it since June 4th from my living room.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
So it's just, and it's cities that I've never been to.
Yeah.
And so it's broadened my audience. And the cool thing is now is when we're up and running again, I'm saying when, I can now apply for those festivals and already have buzz for my show, and people can come and see the show that they saw online in person. So it's win-win-win. It's been win-win for me.
That's great. I'm so happy, Les. That's great. When I hear those kind of stories, it makes me say, okay, good. There's a reason why. It's a reason why I'm doing this.
Yeah, well, it's important. And what I find really exciting, too, just hearing from Les, is you definitely see why this is a great service for the artists. I mean, Les was able to perform, get an audience, make some money, have a copy of the tape. But also, it seems like Fringe festivals could be utilizing this to kind of scout out shows.
Some do, some don't. Yeah, I mean, this year, as far as Fringe festivals go, at least in Canada, where you can't be a Fringe unless you do that sort of model of lotteries. And for them, they were just playing, not really. They were figuring out as they go. They were like, holy crap, what's going on? We don't have, we don't have a festival. We've just canceled. Some festivals had to do something or they wouldn't have get their funding. Like there's so many different things that were tied into like, what do we do? So a lot of them were just sort of making up as they went along. And by the time we got to July, Winnipeg, Edmonton, those festivals were sort of in a position to go, okay, we can sort of incorporate an online festival. Winnipeg did everything through StreamYard, which is what we're on right now. So they were, for them it was perfect. And Edmonton, same thing. They would grab some of Fringe live stream, the two Fringe live stream shows, and they would put it a part of their programming. So a couple times we had a little partnership going on. Now, Vancouver has chosen not to do that, and they're going to do huge venues, small social distance audiences, maybe outdoor stuff, and which is bold, for sure bold. But personally, it would be, and that's great and all, but now there's an opportunity to incorporate this live streaming aspect in going forward, and wise Fringes would probably embrace it more. Ultimately, it just makes it's better for audiences, better for our audiences and artists who want to make a little bit of money. Put a bit.ly link, and there you go, buy a ticket.
I agree. I find this as a positive. It's a yes and it's a growing. It's not substituting. All right.
That's the link.
So I guess we are bringing up. So there's Les's link. Kind of mid combo there. Thank you, Miles. Oh, great live stream.
That's my link. Now, this is a website that, this is all volunteer, right? So it's not like we're a multi-million-dollar corporation, though we'd love to be. So this is a Google site. So you're actually going to get the content on our Facebook page, Fringe Live, facebook.com/Fringe Livestream. But there's links on that, and you know.
All right. Well, thank you. So. Totally, that just came out of left field. So I do view it as very much like this is a positive thing. It's a yes and thing. We're gonna grow from it. It was very interesting. The Edinburgh Fringe just sent out a mailing basically saying we're probably going to be half our size and this online streaming is going to be more. And there was kind of mixed thoughts on all that. Of course, none of us know what's going to happen, which is why it's great that Edmonton is thinking. I love all the theaters that are trying to physical distance and kind of bring it up.
And we're just scratching the surface too now.
Exactly. But with this online stuff, I think it's really exciting you working with other Fringes, and that other Fringes are reaching out to you. So let me kind of go to the question for both of you. Once these doors open on the venues, and things start opening back up, are you still going to be doing this? Are you going to be offering this, or are you going to be like back to running your venues and less just doing shows at actual Fringes? Like, what do you guys think?
Now, Jonathon, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm wondering that even when the doors open back up, I'm wondering if people are going to have a little PTSD for a little while. And I'm wondering, even when the doors open up, how long it's going to take people to actually be comfortable with going to shows again.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have no problem going and performing live on one end, but then on the other end, I think I'm going to remain flexible and open, just because even when the theaters open back up, we still might have to do this just for a little while, just until people get used to going to shows again. You know what I mean?
Well, as far as feeding my face and having a place to lay my head, it's within my best interest to continue doing Edmonton until I die, and doing those venues. So yes, I would love to do that. I also understand that one of the venues we have is a banquet hall, and all you got to do is like breathe, and then 15 people are infected. So, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to wait and see. But personally, let's just say in a best case scenario, we're back and running. Everything is great. Oh, someone is messaging me to Fringe live stream, hilariously enough. When it is up and running, personally, my theater company, it would be within our best interest to also run a live stream. I mean, you can do it from your phone. You could patch it into to the mixer easily enough, and run that through to the. Oh my God, they really want something going on here. Oops. So I have ADHD, just so you know.
Blowing up. It's just so
I know. It's so huge right now. But I would, it makes sense to, as a performer, just to also live stream it to your own devices and your own platforms. Why not, right?
I think so. But Les, let me ask you, because did you do a show specifically for Zoom theater, or did you re-alter this?
No. And basically, so when all of this went down, like when all of the corona went down, I was actually in the middle of a festival. This all went down like right in the middle of the Rogue Festival in Fresno. So, and this was the show that I did for the live stream. This was the show that I was doing at the time.
I see.
And so, no, I literally had to alter it for live stream. And it was just, and the thing is, on the other end, it was crazy actually being in a festival in the middle of this, like it going down, because it was kind of basically a glimpse at how things were going to work. Yeah. Because, it was a whole debate, do we go to shows? Do we not? And people still did go to shows. But, it was like the whole time there was this tension because the festivals, do we shut down? Do we not? Do we and so, no, I totally had to readjust it for live stream. Yeah, it was not,
Wow, that's nuts. It's like Halifax Fringe last year in the middle of a hurricane.
Was there.
You were there too.
I was there for the I was there. That was the last festival I did before this year.
Oh my
Matthew,
God.
I didn't know if you knew this or not, but Halifax Fringe last year, in the middle of Halifax Fringe, a hurricane hit. Like in the middle of it.
Wow. Boy, let's kind of 2 for 2 of those fringes play.
Yeah. And so basically what happened though, because Keith Brown, actually the other person on Fringe live stream, that's how we became friends, because we were in the hurricane. And so even that one, they ended up having to cancel the rest of the festival, but a patron actually was generous enough to throw a show for the out-of-towners, and we actually did our last Fringe shows in this person's backyard, and Fringe audiences showed up to see the show.
That's amazing. Fringe.
That's why I love Fringe.
That's
why
Fringe.
I love Fringe.
I agree. That is Fringe power.
Yeah.
So you had the show before, you did it here. Did you have to retool it? Because I know a lot of artists are out there, they have the show, and they think, oh, I can just turn on the camera and talk in front of it. Did you have to alter it at all?
Oh, yeah. I had to alter it. I had to simplify it. Because of the main reason that, movement-wise, you're limited. You're very limited on what you can do.
Right.
And so I actually, before I did the live stream, I actually had a chance to watch some other shows on live stream and see the mistakes that people would make, turning their back to the camera and saying lines, and moving around and not realizing that they were out of shot. And so, yeah, I basically had to kind of do like, I did the material, but then a bare bones version of the show, but with all the material there. But I just really had to like break it down and really simplify it. Sure.
Was it mostly like blocking that you found, or that you had to change, or was there like how much alteration did you have?
Blocking, just basic blocking. And actually, to be honest, there were certain things that I actually realized were more effective talking to the camera than they would have been doing it live. And so, yeah, so no, I definitely, blocking wise, I had to just throw everything out blocking.
And right. And then quickly, not really related to live Fringe stream, but just personally, do you now, I know you haven't done one since June, do you anticipate maybe writing a show for this new media?
Well, okay, so, and it's funny that you mentioned that because, you know, applications for next year start in next month.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, and we're still not anywhere close to being able to open up.
Oh my God.
And as an American, we're not even allowed in certain places right now.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So one of the festivals, so one of the earlier festivals in the year are already talking about their plan B. So, you know, at least for the beginning of next year, the first couple may be online. So I've got to kind of write that with that in mind.
With that in mind, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Jonathon, you mentioned Les was the second. And you started back, when was your first day? In May?
Yeah, May 28th was our first show. May 18th was our lottery. So whoever was drawn first had 10 days. We had 10 days to just go from lottery to first show.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many artists have performed on Fringe live stream?
Oh my gosh, that's like, it's funny. Me and Keith during our pre-show, we always sort of go, what week is it? And no, we still haven't checked. We gotta be at like, so if May 20th says June, July, August, so 4, 8, 12, gotta be like 15, 16 weeks already. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one show a week, and it's a lottery, and you pick it 10 days before.
Well, I mean, I think we do 2 weeks now. Our next lottery is tomorrow. So we have a show tomorrow. It's every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. And tomorrow is our September lottery. So we have about 20 applications who are in, some of whom applied in May. And they still haven't been picked, including our buddy Kurt Fitzpatrick. I hope I get to pick them. And so we're going to do our lottery tomorrow for September, and that at least it's supposed to be the end of the season, but we sort of have an idea to just do everybody who's applied. We'll eventually give you a show.
So you were planning this as a season. You were going to stop, like, because you figured, like the rest of the world, this is going to wrap up somewhat soon, and then we're going to be heading to real fringes in our life.
Yeah. October 8th is when I figured we were going to be done just for the summer season. And I actually thought I was going to go back to my winter job, which is living in the back of a theater and playing with lights and sound. And that ain't happening. So who knows? Actually, I applied at Canada Post, which is our postal service. I applied at that today. Fingers crossed, I'll be a postman.
Thinking good thoughts. Well, let me ask you this, and this is something, again, a lot of people are talking about. You've hinted a bit, like Les is your #1 sales guy. Yeah, Les. But this is a virtual tip jar. And your whole system is kind of based on virtual tips and giving that money back to the performers. Yeah. So first, Les, without opening your books and showing us your checking account, how did this financially work for you? And let's compare it to like a normal Fringe wire.
Well, okay. Well, funny you should mention that. I have actually, at this point, this has been one of my largest money-making summers. ever. Because here's the difference, which I never even took into account before. So people see the show. A couple of the festivals, it was tipped, and then one of the festivals, it was actually, hey, can we offer you a stipend? And the stipend was like just as much as I would have made at a festival. Right. But so the thing is that I never took into consideration is, with the tip jar. So a couple of weeks ago, I just happened to look at my PayPal and I'm like, what is all this money from? People, after they see the show, they can continually give you money. Yeah. And so so basically, instead of doing the show for 2 weeks, stopping, getting that check or whatever, people throughout the summer have continued to watch it and have been continuing just to pay as they watch it.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I'm a convert.
Yeah. So Jonathon, you're giving the gift that keeps on giving. I mean,
that's one of the good collaterals of the live stream. There's a few things that I think are good collaterals, sort of offshoots that you wouldn't sort of necessarily see when it's live. That is definitely one. The other one is people who are performing. We had someone from Qatar performing, so it's 4 a.m. where she is, and it's of course 9 p.m. where we are, and we had someone perform at 3 a.m. from Sweden. So it's interesting to know that you sort of have a window into, well, hell, Sweden, and they're performing live for you at that moment, and that you don't really, you can't really recapture that in a fringe either. So, yeah.
No, that is, I love that part. And what about press? Have you found that press is responsive to this?
At first, very much so. At first was great. We sent out our media release, and then we got a whole bunch of Canadian press outlets interested, and we were like, yay, great. And it was a bit overwhelming. And then we sent a couple more out through the summer, and it hasn't been as well as I would have liked. And afterwards, it's a kind of a shame, but at the same time, what can you do? There's other things going on and all that. But I mean, it's always a struggle, I think, trying to get the word out, and social media, and it's saturated, and we do what everyone does, and just keep posting, keep bugging people, keep hashtagging, keep ats and atting, and hopefully people are going to give us we've got a lot of blogs.
Yeah, blogs are kind of the new.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of papers aren't even covering theater. I mean, the theaters are closed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John.
No, please go ahead.
By the way, can you guys hear me okay? I had to recharge, so my charge. Can you guys hear me okay?
You got it. It's a little weak.
Okay, hold on. I will. Anyway, right? It's like live theater.
Oh,
but
there you are. It is.
There we go.
That's my favorite thing when things go wrong. Yeah.
So I've actually, I received a couple of. I did an interview in Canada. And then I had a thing come out in Florida, in like Tampa, Florida. And this hasn't happened to me, but I know other people who have done their live stream shows who actually have been reviewed.
Ooh.
A couple of people. So reviewers are out there reviewing stuff.
I would love to get some people reviewing Fringe live stream the day after, and then of course people can keep watching it, right? So
exactly. Yeah. And theoretically, they don't even need to go to that show.
No, you can watch it the next day.
I'm helping out another show, and the press person wasn't able to do it, and we're just going to send her the stream link to watch it on her own course.
Right.
And I'm also, and I don't know how it's going to work. I'm working on a new project it's a big international show, and I'm curious to see how because what's stopping a critic from London reviewing a show that's taking place in LA, because the actors are all over the world.
Right.
And so it changes kind of their territory, I guess.
It's funny. My media BCC list, when I first sent out that media release back in May, it was hilarious. From like Seth Kubinski from Orlando all the way up to the Yukon. Like I had hundreds of media people from everywhere. Darren from Soho Playhouse, gosh, people from the Hollywood Fringe, you name it, just everywhere. Like I was just
But
relentless.
Matthew, you brought up something though, with the people. One of the cool things that I never thought about as well is, so I have these friends, these touring friends. Jonathan, Fruit Flies, the Fourth Wall, right?
Oh, I love them.
So they did it. So it's this group, and it's a really cool group, and they're musicians, and they do this very cool show. And so they had an anniversary show. And so basically what they did is they invited various Fringe friends from around the world who they've done festivals with, and we all guested on their show. And it literally was people around the world guesting in one show. So that's one of the advantages now, Matt, that you can have different cast members from all over the place do a show.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's what our last week's show, Mind of a Snail, Shadow Puppetry, put out a call before, and they took basically 3 audience members, and with their shadow puppetry, turned them into, turtles and what have you, right? And so that was one way to incorporate them, and they were, of course, all over the world too. So
that's fun. So we digressed a bit with wonderful Fringe talk. So Les came out of this doing pretty good summer, as summers go. Didn't have to leave, didn't have to worry about packing, driving, still
right.
out cha-ching. Jonathan, how are you? How is it working for you? How is this financially? And if it isn't, how do you plan to keep going with it?
Yeah, well, it doesn't pay the bills. I mean, I approach this as a volunteer initiative. Now, I'm not sure how it is in California, but up in America or up in Canada, we have a thing called CERB, which is sort of, if you were laid off because you were a theater worker, the government's going to support you. So I decided to okay, it's okay if I volunteer my time because I'm getting paid for it. So that's how I looked at it at first. Now that the CERB's running out and I need to find a job, it's just not paying the bills. It's basically we take a bit of a admin fee to pay for the Zoom, and pay for all the service fees and the website domain and all that stuff. But I'm not to say there's no opportunity. I would like to keep doing this for sure, but also maybe having FringeLive Stream offer platforms for Luddite business people who want to host a Zoom conference on, sprockets, and they want to put it onto their Facebook page, so kind of thing. So there could be some opportunity of hosting Zoom conferences and make it look fancy through OBS or any other streaming software. And we want to explore the possibility of that, but and it would be nice to get grants or advertising, but we're just a group of artists that miss the Fringe in the end.
Yeah. One question I didn't bring up, and we got a little time, so I'm going to indulge. I love the tech part of all this. Yeah. So when you say you're using OBS and Zoom, can you describe your kind of tech track for myself and for audience in terms of how, because most people I think of, I'm using Zoom and I'm sending it out, or I'm using OBS and I'm sending it out. How are you bringing the two together?
Well, if you're looking at it from sort of like a signal line or going, Zoom is the first stop. We take someone's Zoom call and we put it through OBS. OBS from there broadcasts it onto our Facebook.
I see.
And that's sort of how we do it. Now, we also have a pre-show that we run, videos. Kurt Fitzpatrick has videos that he submits, and anybody can submit a video one a 2-minute comedy sketch or whatever, TikTok videos, you name it. If you bring it to us, we'll play it. So we have a pre-show that runs as well. While that's running, I talk to the people backstage through my Zoom, because we have several computers going on, right? And we have a Zoom computer that I can talk to them and count them in, much like Miles has done for us, the stage management styles, and we count them in, and then we go live at 5 minutes after the hour. That's
great. So the OBS is, in a sense, how you're restreaming it. It's kind of the funnel to.
It is, and that's what you add the bells and whistles onto. Yep. You have the overlays, and we can add a ticker. We can have a countdown clock. And every week, Keith Brown has discovered something new. Next week, I'm sure it's going to be like, I don't know, free candy that shoots out of your phone. I'm sure he's going to figure something out.
That would be cool. That would be cool. And so Les, I'm wondering, as they talk about this, are you a techie, or are you kind of thankful that there was somebody out there that was able to?
No, I am not a techie. And that was that was the best part of doing the live stream, and that's kind of what made me a convert, is because through Fringe live stream, they did all the tech. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to show up and do the show.
Just show up on Zoom, yeah.
Because, I've seen other shows where the person's doing their tech as well as their show, and it never worked out so well. So that was the cool thing, that they did everything, because I know nothing. I am not tech savvy at all.
No, it's great. And
what's that?
I just said it eases people's consciousness. If they're anxious about if it seems overwhelming, I can't do a streaming show through Fringe live stream. It says all you got to do is show up in a Zoom call, just point your camera and press a couple buttons. We'll do the rest, right? Yeah.
So when you say we, and again going to kind of nuts and bolts, what is the size of your team? Like, who is making this happen in a normal show?
Well, I mean, again, it's always open. All anyone has to say is, I want to be a part of your team, and then we have a team. But the me and Keith run the tech, and so we do. Keith does the OBS tech stuff. I do the stage management through Zoom. Josh Langdo and Carlin Ramey, they facilitate the Artists and Underrepresented Community series. So they pick out all the shows that are part of that series, and they also run the social media. So during the show, we have active social media people commenting, reacting, sending hearts, and giving the bit.ly link to, we say, buy tickets now, and we put that bit.ly link. So they're hosting watch parties, and so we sort of have a little social media team. Carlin does this social media through. Yeah.
And then he stopped. It's great that his eyes are closed. He looks like he could just like fell asleep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. It's not a show without one tech problem.
One thing. I kicked myself out of the studio 2 days ago. I was like talking, and then I just disappeared. It was great.
It's funny. So we have people who Polly has volunteered to communicate with the artists as a liaison after, because I'm just too much of I'm just like, oh, I'm done. Next. So I kind of tend to, I just go, here's your money. Leave me alone. I don't mean to do that, but I do. So Polly's sort of acting as a liaison that way, and Velvet Wells started the group, the sort of artist group that to sort of come and hang out or whatever. So yeah, so it's
wow.
And even when you think of people who've, like, Les was on our show one pre-show, we had a nice chat, and Kurt Fitzpatrick submits videos. So I mean, it's a lot of cogs. Yeah.
That's really impressive. Miles, we need more people. Put that down on your We need more people. I have to imagine that Les, you felt pretty safe and taken care of then, that even though that
absolutely.
You were miles away, they had a team, and like you said, Jonathan, show up, turn the camera towards you, and go.
And the thing is, and I knew most of them separately from just doing other festivals, and so I knew them as performers, and I knew them as, you know, professional, reliable people. But yeah, it was great, just, you know, being able to show up.
The one funny thing that happened for your show, Les, just before your show, and you know what I'm going to say, is I get a phone call on my cell phone from area code Los Angeles, and I'm like, what is this? So I answer it, and it's a little old lady saying, I can't figure out your stream. I don't know how it works. Please help me. And I didn't even know how it worked at that point. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, go to our website at this time, because it was before time. So she couldn't see the stream yet, or go to our Facebook. You don't need to be a part of Facebook to watch it on Facebook. Just go to that address. And the poor little old lady, she ended up being able to see it. I texted her the next friggin' day just to make sure. Did you see?
Did? Oh, good.
I did. I said, did you see? Were you able to see the show? And I think she was, right?
Well, and this is a friend of mine, and she's 80. So I was like, John, she's 80 years old.
I mean, so dare I say that is like a new age Fringe story. Like that's a Fringe story in our COVID times. A phone call from LA while you're in Canada because they can't figure out the tech of a show. I mean, it's
cute. Amazing. It's cute. It reminds me of my mom. It just reminds me of my mom, who I miss. So yeah.
So we're hitting the top of the hour. It's been really fascinating to hear just about how this came out. Artists taking over the world, starting new business models. Both of you, I hope to continue the conversation, Les, with your adventures, and Jonathan, talking about the model and looking at that. I'm very interested in how those things work. Hopefully you guys will also tune in tomorrow at noon. It's our European show.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
So we have Matt Panesh, and William Dever, I'm mispronouncing it. They have another distribution company, but they're going more of the cable TV route. So that is going to be kind of higher end video quality on cable TV, and they're also trying to work out the model. I think I could speak for Les and all the other performers out there. The more models, the merrier. If there are more ways for us to get our show out there, God bless you all. I really do hope, Jonathan, that you can make this work. So this could be, I mean, you're probably like me. I mean, we like the live theater stuff. We're not going to give that up. But if we can do some of this online tech and it helps pay some of the bills, I'm not going to say no. And Les, I'm going to look forward to hear of your continuing adventures, because I know you are usually fringing. We're all going to be keeping an eye on the next Fringe. You guys did hear there was a show in Edinburgh, the first live show.
No.
In the Edinburgh Fringe. It was like a stand-up comedy at Three Sisters.
Did they get audience?
I don't know if it's happening or has, but I'll report on it next episode. Because I do think that changing over to physically distanced theater is going to be happening. But this live streaming is it. You guys are showing how it works, how it really benefits. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.
I think people need this kind of, like, I can still do my art. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Break legs on all your future endeavors. And everybody in the audience, thank you so much for checking it out. If you're watching this through YouTube, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have 2 of these shows every week. We've got a bunch of old ones. We've got some fun topics coming up. Learn a little bit about what's next in live theater. Thank you again for coming. All right.